As we track these upcoming storms, we're also looking back 15 years ago today, and that was the super outbreak of 2011.
Yeah, so we're able to get Fox Weather Correspondent Robert Ray on the phone now, revisiting some of the moments coming out of St. Louis County, Missouri. And Robert, bringing you into the conversation, we talked about the threat for severe weather as we get into today. St. Louis at the apex of some of the worst weather that we could be seeing as we get into this afternoon. But tell me and take me back to 2011 in terms of your coverage. What stuck with you out of this outbreak?
Hey, yeah, Marissa and Melanie, everyone watching, good morning to you. Indeed, and by the way, St. Louis hit by that tornado that swept through parts of the city last May. So, indicative of history potentially repeating itself. Hopefully not. But 2011, yes, that super tornadic outbreak. At this point, my goodness, looking back and thinking about that, one of the worst scenarios as far as tornadoes that I certainly ever arrived on. And, you know, the largest, costliest, and one of the deadliest tornado outbreaks, you know, in American history. I mean, when you think about this, 360 confirmed tornadoes across 21 states at the time, 320 lives lost. I was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where University of Alabama is, and saw the devastation in the immediate aftermath. And unfortunately, that tornado went on to become an EF4, killing over 60 people, injuring hundreds in Tuscaloosa alone, well over 2,000 people injured as a whole throughout that outbreak. And, you know, I just recall, you know, I was there at the point where there was active search and rescues going on, and it was a scene like no other. Unfortunately, witnessed first responders bring out live people that were not alive out of that rubble, including an infant girl. That when she was brought out, I can tell you the woman, the nurse, the first responder that took that little girl out, went into a shock like, you know, you just don't quite see someone go into. And it was horrible. And it was devastation as far as the eye can see. And that's not something I say lightly, because a lot of times tornadoes are very isolated, but this tornado was just massive with an 80-mile track moving across multiple states, Mississippi, Alabama, and, you know, just destroying so much, including parts of that University of Alabama campus. And, you know, to think, everyone, that just a month later was Joplin tornado in Missouri, and that was an EF5. And I thought I had seen the worst in Tuscaloosa, covering that for the days after, and then Joplin occurred. So that year was just so catastrophic and so violent. And to think, I mean, how anyone possibly would be able to keep up with hundreds of tornadoes within a 24-hour period in that part of the country. I mean, just from a National Weather Service perspective, from a first responder perspective, and from a survivor and a resident's perspective, it was quite literally chaos on the ground.
I can't imagine seeing some of those images, and I'm sure some things that still haunt maybe people living in those areas too. Today, you mentioned Joplin. That was my first television market. I got there a year after that tornado, and the recovery process was still ongoing at this point. So what do you remember specifically about the aftermath and the recovery efforts?
Oh, Joplin was something that no one expected in the aftermath of that scenario. I mean, for days, Melanie, I spent 12, 15 hours a day walking with first responders, search and rescue teams that as they were looking for people that were either buried alive or dead. Again, it was something that, you know, we'll never leave anyone that was there, certainly. And we're talking about like search and rescue teams that include wildfire rescue teams from Oklahoma that made their way over to, Army National Guard, to retired soldiers. And I'll never forget one of the team leaders for the search and rescue team saying, and this is before the sun came up, he was saying to all the teams that were about to go out through the rubble, he said, if you find someone who is dead, please do not worry about, putting a marker on their arm or forehead. We need to know who these people are. We will clean them up after they get to the morgue. It was things that graphic that we were hearing on the ground. And, it's a phenomenal situation when you think about how much our science has advanced since then, 15 years ago. The lives saved in a matter of 15 years because of the 2011 outbreak, Tuscaloosa, and then Joplin 1 month later.
Yeah, I mean, these were powerful, powerful tornadoes. The Joplin one, an EF5 with over 150 people killed. And you talk about lessons learned, and I think science has improved. There have been critical advancements when it comes to forecasting these threats, Robert. But you are usually the person in speaking to these survivors and wondering, as we head into today, knowing we've already seen an EF4 tornado that was confirmed out of Enid, Oklahoma. Here we head into today's threat where we have this heightened risk for a very impactful high-end event that could include some very strong tornadoes. What would you say is something that survivors tend to say, or is there something, I wish I had known this, or I wish I did this differently? What is something that people can take forward into today?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would tell you, anyone in the St. Louis Metro or in central Illinois, wherever these targets, wherever the National Weather Service is targeting these systems today. I mean, number one, there's a couple things. First of all, make sure that you have whatever belongings like in your pockets in a go bag, ready to go. That be anything from your wallet to photographs, anything that you think that you absolutely need emotionally and physically. And then second of all, wherever you may be in St. Louis or wherever it is, just understand that if you're at work or if you're at home, know the place that is the safest, okay? Know where to go in the structure because you may be in a scenario where a strong track tornado comes in or even a straight line wind and blows out windows or, God forbid, collapses the roof or the brick structure or a mobile home or whatever you're in. And if you feel like, your mobile home is not going to be in a safe area, which honestly, mobile homes, they are not safe in scenarios like this, then I would say try to make other plans to get somewhere that you feel might be safe. And by the way, sometimes that is, a gas station or a Walmart or somewhere. If that's the only place you have to go to, get there. Really do it.
Yeah, it's just great advice. I think as we're trying to get through the day, remembering that those moments can be truly chaotic and scary. So doing what you can to prepare. And it reminded me, it was just last year in May of 2025, St. Louis had the EF3 tornado. And the reminder that even in these metros that seemingly feel protected, it can happen. So we'll be watching, and we appreciate, Robert, just that insight as we reflect back into 15 years ago today and looking at the forecast for today. Fox Weather Correspondent Robert Ray joining us on the phone there.